parenting, emotions, kids, feelings, growing, learning, wisdom. Let's jump into all of it on the Raising Emotionally Intelligent Humans podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Raising Emotionally Intelligent Humans podcast. This is our little mini season. We are on episode 3, talking about early parenting, and today I'm going to talk about pregnancy, particularly my first full pregnancy. Last week I talked about miscarriages, so obviously I had been pregnant before I had a baby that actually made it earthside. Okay, so early on, pregnancy. I remember standing and connecting with her, connecting with my uterus and wondering, am I pregnant? And deep in my heart, knowing I am. I could feel her. I could feel the shift in energy inside of me. And I knew she was there. But it was too early to take a test yet. But still, there was a part of me that wondered, is it right? Or am I right? Or am I just making something up? Or just hoping, or just thinking that that's what's going on? Doubting myself. And then the day came where I got a piano stick. And it was positive. Of course, I was happy. I had wanted this. And I was also really nervous. Was this baby going to stick? Was she going to last? Was she going to make it? Obviously, then I didn't know it was a she. Was she going to make it until she was big enough to come out? Was I going to have to go through another miscarriage and face the fact that I might not be able to get pregnant? Or stay pregnant? I could get pregnant. Could I stay pregnant? And a lot of anxiety was there. But yet there was that deeper connection I had with her that gave me enough reassurance that I could trust, that I was pretty sure this is going to work. And those early days, I was slightly nauseous every now and then, but I could eat a cracker or have a little applesauce, and the nose would go away. And it was pretty great. And then I remember I was 12 weeks pregnant. And I thought that the nausea thing was kind of done because the first trimester was now over. And I was in a therapy training program called Your Badass Therapy Practice, which was fantastic, by the way. And there's office hours. And I'm listening to the office hours, and she asks on the office hours, what are you drinking? And I was like, I'm drinking root beer float because I'm pregnant. Can't drink alcohol. She has some kind of fancy alcoholic drink most of the time. And it's just super fun time. And then after that call, I threw up. I threw up the root beer float. And it was the first and only time I threw up that entire pregnancy until birth happened. So not too bad for that first trimester. It was beyond the anxiety. It's pretty great. And I made it to 12 weeks. And thank God I made it to 12 weeks. There was definitely a bit of a release of the anxiety that was directed towards, is the baby going to make it when I got to 12 weeks? Though it still existed. Because I knew that other people could have miscarriages later. And really getting to the 20 weeks and really 23 weeks is where you really want, because then the baby is viable outside. Not that you want your baby to be born at 23 weeks, but it could survive with a lot of medical help. So I was just trying to get to those weeks. And something shifted. I don't quite remember when. It was the second trimester, third trimester, but at some point I couldn't connect with her. I did not feel that energetic, deep connection and knowing. I could feel her kick, I could feel her wiggle, but not any kind of spiritual, deep connection. And it was just like, I'm just pregnant, there's this baby in me, and she's kind of heavy, and my back kind of hurts, and put a lot of pressure on myself. So that anxiety was also showing up in a like kind of perfectionist part of, you need to do all the things right, Heidi. You want an unmedicated birth. You want a natural unmedicated birth. So you better figure out how to do that. You need to make sure you're doing yoga so that your body is prepared for that. You need to be doing hypnobirthing, so you need to be doing meditation and going inside and connecting to yourself and doing the things that the hypnobirthing book is talking about. And I couldn't. I did some yoga for sure, but the amount of pressure I had on myself, I kept feeling like I was failing, like I wasn't doing enough, that I couldn't do it every day. I was only doing it maybe once or twice a week, the yoga, that is. And I felt like I was kind of failing already. And that pressure that I put on myself, I also knew the biggest thing that created anxiety was sleep. Not my sleep. I mean, it was for my sleep, but the baby sleep. How was I going to get that baby to sleep? Because I knew at that point in my life that I needed at least 7 hours of sleep. That if I got less than 7 hours of sleep, I was not okay. Like, I was not okay, suicidal, kind of not okay. And if I got more than 7 hours of sleep, I was okay. And if I got 9 hours of sleep, I was like, I'm actually really good and I'm potentially thriving. And I know babies don't sleep for 7 hours when they come out. I knew what a newborn was. I had been a nanny for a long time. I knew about babies. But I was like, I'm going to get her to sleep as soon as I possibly can and make sure that she has good sleep skills because I need my sleep. I'm not okay if I don't sleep. Okay? So I was so obsessed with it. I was looking up sleep consultants. And I was Googling and trying to find who's the right one. And I had some consult calls with sleep consultants when I was probably in my second, third trimester, somewhere in there. And then I found one that I loved. And we had a video call. And the reason I loved her is because I told her about the importance of sleep for me, how important it is. I was a little bit vulnerable with sharing some of the emotional challenges that I have when I'm really, really tired, and that I really want and need my kiddo to learn how to sleep, and I know how important sleep is. And she could resonate and met me in that deeper place, which is why I adore her. I still reach out to her now when I'm having sleep issues with kiddos. And so we have this, I'm sitting in my chair on my computer, talking to her, telling her about my sleep world, about how the baby's nursery is set up, what that's going to look like, how my room is set up with the little bassinet. And she just gave me like some pointers, like just little, you're really early to be worrying about this yet. So just so you know that, the first 2 weeks is survival. Sleep when the baby sleeps. Get the baby to sleep however you need to get the baby to sleep. Get the baby to sleep. And then we talked more. So that reassured some of my anxiety too. That was like, okay, I have a plan. I have a structure. Amanda's anxiety like plans and structure. I think we're going to solve the problems of the world with our plans and structure. It's like, I know what I'm going to do for the baby to get her to sleep. Then I'm going to sleep, and then motherhood's going to be great. And that's what I thought. That's not how it went, but that's what I thought. And I was like, I'm prepared. I'm ready for this. She was getting bigger. My back was hurting more. I was take my hands and put them underneath my belly and lift up when I was walking because my back hurt so much. And my leg kept going tingly and falling asleep in my right leg because of the pressure that she was placing upon some nerve in my body. I was going to the chiropractor to make sure that I had the best adjustment so that she could most easily come out. I went to birth classes with the midwives. I did all my care with midwives at the birth center of Denver, and it was good. Yeah, I was really anxious. I talked a lot about anxiety and being anxious with my therapist, and I couldn't really connect to my baby after the first trimester or so, as I've already said. But I thought things were going fairly well. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tell the birth story because that's pretty much the pregnancy story there. It was pretty easy. All right, so I'm going to take you into it. So it was February 11th of 2021. And I woke up to a day of clients as a therapist. And I had 2 or 3 clients scheduled that day. So I sat down at my desk to see my clients. And I saw my first client, and there was a twinge. I kept having these runner twinges in my stomach. I was like, oh, that was a weird twinge. Okay. I would breathe, didn't think much of it. Definitely by the time my second client happened, if I had 3 by my third client, I was having full-on contractions while I was being a therapist. And I was so grateful that my clients had their eyes closed, because then I was closing my eyes and making funny faces because I was grimacing in pain and breathing, and I was muting myself when this pain was happening. But I was still hearing the client and doing IFS with them, internal family systems, and helping them guide them through their system. But I'm sitting here breathing through these contractions because that's what I was told to do. I actually didn't even know there were contractions at the time. I just thought there was some pain and I was just trying to breathe through it. And made it through my session. Oh, thank God I made it through my session. And then I got ravenously hungry. Like I was starving. And I cooked a gluten-free pizza. You know, one of those like Amy's ones they're kind of small. And I ate the entire thing. Just shoved that whole thing in my mouth. I was so hungry. And I had texted my doula early in the morning, being like, I just saw some blood in the toilet. I don't know if that matters. Just telling you that it's there. So that's called bloody show. And that sometimes happens right before you give birth. Sometimes it's days or a week before. And sometimes it's like right before. So I don't know. So she had known that something was happening. I texted her again saying, I'm having all this pain. Maybe something is going on. I don't know. I was in 100% denial that I was having a baby. I was like, nope, it's not happening yet. She's got 4 more days. This is not happening until Valentine's Day. Her due date was Valentine's Day. Like, that's when she's coming. Super in denial. Not paying attention to what my body was telling me. And then they started getting worse. The pain in my stomach, which were contractions, and it hurt. Really, really hurt. And my doula called me as soon as she could. She was driving. And she called me as soon as she could. And I told her what was happening. And I had called the midwife and told them what was happening. And my doula, I'm on the phone with the doula. I'm like, okay, so I keep having these pains. I think they're every 3 or 4 minutes. Can't quite tell. They're happening a lot. And she was like, really? That much? Are you sure? Because I was talking like normally, like it was normal. It wasn't hard for me to talk. Even when the contractions were happening, I wasn't really pausing that much to talk. I was like, yeah, they kind of are. And that was around noonish, 1ish, something like that. And she was like, okay, well, keep tracking it. Let the midwives make sure you know. make sure your mom knows and you should get your mom to your house. I was like, why? She's like, you're in labor, Heidi. I was like, I'm in labor? What? What do you mean I'm in labor? I'm not in labor. There's just some pains. It's fine. She's like, no, Heidi, you're in labor. It's like, oh, I'm in labor. Okay, I guess a baby is going to happen. Am I ready? Little part freaked out a little bit. Got through that moment and I called my mom, told my mom to get here as fast as she could because she was my ride to the birth center of Denver and I lived in Longmont. That's like a 45-minute drive. And she was my birth person. My mom and my doula were the only two people that could come because this was still COVID times, and then the midwives. And so I was continuing with these off and on pains. I was trying to rest. That wasn't happening. I was like, okay, sure, whatever. And my mom just took forever. I was like, where is she? I thought she told me she would be here very soon. She told me she was in Evergreen. That should only take, I don't know, an hour or so. It has been more than an hour. Where is she? And then she shows up like a half an hour later or so. She had to go back to her house to get her suitcase to come back to my house from Idaho Springs. So my mom gets there, and then I do all the things that I'm supposed to do. Okay, so they told me to get in the shower. That showers really help. They told me to take walks. That walks really help. They told me to rest as much as I can. And they told me at what point to call them to come in for giving birth of the baby. So my mom and I go for a walk, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to walk all the way down to the park, and we'll go around the park, and then we'll come back. That's maybe 10-ish blocks or so. Yeah, we got 2 blocks away. I walked 2 blocks, and I was like, I can't keep going. I cannot do this. It hurts so much. I need to go home. And I had to keep pausing and stop walking with every contraction. It's just my stomach is tightening, and it hurts, and it's painful, and breathing as much as I can. Trying to release my shoulders, but they were definitely up in my ears. I'm trying to get away from the pain, and it wasn't working. So then we get back to my house. I'm like, okay, so the walk made it feel a little worse, and I couldn't really manage. So let me see if I get in the shower. They said water really helps. So I get in the shower, and I'm feeling the water on me, and then the contractions get intensely worse. So much worse. Like I'm screaming in the shower because the pain and intensity was starting to feel unbearable at that point. I was like, this is really bad, Mom. This is bad. This did not help. I did not like the water. So I go upstairs. I get out of the shower. My mom I'm on the couch talking to my dad on the phone, and I go upstairs to get dressed. And I get dressed and I lay down on the bed, and I'm gripping a comb in my hand as tight as I can. Also, a hypnobirthing technique. Grip the comb, feel the pressure in your hand to try to help get through the contraction. That wasn't helping either. Nothing was helping, and I was crying and did not want to do this anymore. It's like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And I told my mom to call the midwives because I can't do this anymore. So that was my knowing, like, this is really going to happen soon-ish. So we should do something different. I can't manage this by myself with my mom anymore. It's too painful. So she calls the midwives, and they wanted to talk to me. They asked me, like, how's she doing? How's she handling it? And my mom's like, she's doing pretty good. And I was like, I am not doing good. No, I'm not good, Mom. I think that's because I am really good at keeping pretty much all my pain and emotions inside. That's just part of how I am. And it's sometimes hard for people to fully see what's happening. I was like, I can't manage this anymore, Mom. I'm not okay. I'm not okay. Tell the midwives I'm not okay. They heard me say that. And they're like, you should bring her in. And that was around 5-ish p.m. And this had all started, the bloody show started at 7 a.m. Now we're at 5 p.m. the same day. So we gather all of our things, and we have a plan to meet the midwives at the birth center of Denver at 6 p.m. My doula is to meet us there as well. My mom called my doula or texted her, I don't remember, to let her know to come. So we get into the car, and I think, I sit in the back seat because there's more room. Like I buckle myself in because that's what you do when you get in a car. Buckle myself in. I'm ready to go. The contractions happen. Ow, that hurts. And then I unbuckled myself. My mom was driving, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I unbuckle myself, and I'm on my hands and knees. I turn backwards. So my knees are on the bench, this bench seat, and my arms are over the headrest. And that was the only position that was semi-comfortable. And I'm just groaning and moaning and making a lot of noise in the back seat as my mom is driving these 45 minutes that feel like a century. And it gets more and more and more painful, and I'm restricted to my movement, and I cannot go very far, and I do not like it. And then we get to the birth center. I was like, thank God we got to the birth center. And I started to feel a little nauseous then. I don't feel so good, Mom. And I tried eating a bar or a bite of something. I was like, that helped a little, but no, I can't eat anymore. I don't want any more of that. And then we start walking inside. I'm walking inside, and I get to the across the parking lot, which is 15 steps maybe. And a big contraction comes, and I stand, and I have to pause, and I have to grip the wall, and I moan some more. Deep breath in, contraction ends, walk some more into the inside. There's a security guard that's downstairs that meets us and helps us get upstairs. Can't even make it to the elevator before I have to pause again. Another contraction. Moan some more, breathe through it, get to the elevator. Definitely have 1 or 2 contractions in the elevator. Then have to walk down a hall. And this whole time just feels like excruciatingly hard. Like, when am I going to be able to stop walking? And I walk, and I get there. The midwives see me. They're like, oh, wow, you're really in oh, okay. Like, yeah, I told you. Bah! And they get me into the room that I had wanted to be in. So that's like 6 p.m. And this is it's been painful for an hour and a half, 2 hours at this point, pretty painful. More than just this tightening and this sharp pain kind of shooting through me. Now it's this gripping pain, and it lasts for a while, and then it releases for a minute, and then a gripping pain again, and then it releases, and a gripping pain again, and it just will not stop. And my body is going up, up, up. I'm trying to get out of my body. I do not want to be here. I do not like this at all. My doula is trying to push my shoulders down. She's telling me to breathe down. The midwives are like, breathe down, 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 down. The one thing that they did that was extremely helpful is they did a hip squeeze. So somebody would push on both sides of my hips as hard as they could, especially during contractions. And it was the only thing that gave me even a little bit of relief. And shortly after we got to the birth center, it said, I don't feel very good. Like, are you going to throw up? Yeah. And I threw up pretty much most of the pizza that I had eaten. And then I don't feel good again, and then I threw up again. I don't remember how many times I threw up, but I did not like throwing up. And then they had some medicine that they gave me at some point to help me stop throwing up. It was glorious. So glad I had that medicine. The only medicine that I had during my labor was the anti-nausea medicine that they just put right into my vein through the IV that I had in me. And one of the reasons I had wanted to give birth at the birth center of Denver was because they had a really big tub, like a jacuzzi kind of tub. And I am somebody who loves water. I love it so, so, so much. I love swimming. I love being in water. I love hot tubs and just being in water. So I thought that water would be really, really great. And I thought that maybe the bath would be better than the shower, because the shower didn't work so well. So they asked me if I wanted to get in the bath. I said, yes, please. I climbed into the bathtub, and the pain intensifies and it gets worse and it hurts a lot. And then I'm trying to turn around or find a comfortable position, trying to be on my hands and knees, and I can't really do that in the bath. And gripping my mom's hand, I'm gripping my doula's hand, squeezing as hard as I can. At this point, right now, as I'm telling this, I'm like worried about, did I hurt their hands? But during that, I did not care about them at that moment. Doing whatever I could to try to get through these contractions. And I was like, this isn't working. It's too much pain. So then I get out of the bathtub. And then I keep kind of going back and forth from the bed, flipping positions, trying to be on my hands and knees. That helped the most. They kept trying to get me to move positions. Everything hurt. I hated it, every moment of it. And there was this moment when they wanted me to go pee. I was like, I don't have to pee. Like, you haven't peed in a very long time. You should probably try to go pee. It's like, I don't have to pee. I want to pee. Like, you need to go pee, Heidi. I was like, okay, fine. I'll go pee. So I walk over to the bathroom, which also felt like a century away, mile away. It was not a mile away. It was, I don't know. It's a really big room. Like, if you imagine a really big living room or a really big hotel room, the bed's on one side and the bathroom's on the other side. Whatever, 15, 20 steps, something like that. And I get into the bathroom, and my doula, she says that she's going to give me some privacy. And I'm thinking she was like going to go get some water or go eat something or go to do something because she'd been with me for a long time. And I sit down on the toilet to try to pee. I think I did pee maybe. But the moment I sat down, it hurt so bad. It got so much more intense. And I screamed her name. I was like, come back. Also thinking, I don't need privacy. Like, fuck, you see me in labor. I'm half naked. I think I was only wearing a bra at that point. Might have had on a... Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I was pretty much just... After I got in the bathtub, I just had on my bra. I didn't have anything else on. I just had on my bra. So it's like, I don't need privacy. You've already seen all the things. There's no privacy needed here. Screaming because of how bad it hurt on the toilet. And some people actually really like toilet contractions. I'm not one of them. It hurt way more. So I'm squeezing her and screaming. Trying to pee. It's a really hard thing to do when you're having contractions. And then that ends. I get off the toilet and get out of there. Thank God I didn't have to pee again. They didn't make me pee until after I had a baby. And as I'm walking back from the bathroom, I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to pee or something. And this gush comes out. My water broke. And then I looked at the floor and I said, I'm sorry. Like, don't be sorry, Heidi. This happens. We'll clean it up. Not a big deal. And then I took a few more steps, like, oh, and some more gushed out. So I just kind of laid a towel on the ground and just standing there's like just gushes of water just falling out of me. My water was breaking. And then after that, they were like, I want to check you. I wanted to see how dilated I was. And this was like, okay. And I had gotten to the bed and I was on my hands and knees. I was like, can you check me like this? Like, we can try. So they tried checking me while I'm on my hands and knees, essentially. And then they're in there, they have to go pretty far in, and they're feeling around. And then I'm about to and then I have a contraction. And I'm like, get out, get out, get out. And they pull their hand out because I'm like, it hurts so bad for them to have and have a contraction at the same time. I'm having more contractions, and they're like, how do we really need to check you? Like, you didn't get to tell? Because they didn't actually get that far in. I'm like, no, we didn't. I'm sorry. We really do we need to know how far along. We need to know where you're at. I'm like, okay, fine, I guess. It's like, we need to have you lay on your back. It's like, okay, fine. So then get me on my back. And I was determined before this. I was not going to give birth on my back because I know that is the position where you're most likely to tear. And I didn't want to tear. It's like, I don't want to do the thing that medical doctors tell me to do. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do what my body tells me to do. So I get on my back. They're able to check me. I don't remember how far along I was. It was definitely at least 8, if not 9 centimeters, if not very close to 10 centimeters. And then I was on my back and I could not move. It's like, there's no getting off of my back anymore. I can't do this. I can't do this. And I have a lot of contractions on my back. I'm breathing through it. And they're like, can we get you on your side? They try to roll me over to my side. I can't really do it. I kind of rolled over, but then it really hurt. And then my leg was falling asleep. I can't do this. And they roll back onto my back. I'm like, I can't. I'm going to be on my back. Because then they didn't want me on my back. They didn't want me to give birth on my back. But they were like, you got to get on your back so we can check you. Part of me is a little annoyed about that right now. But in that moment, I was like, I can't. And then it became the time to push. I'm on my back because that's the only position I could be in. I couldn't move, and I'm pushing, and I could feel the pressure down, and it hurt, and it was a lot of pain, and I really didn't like it, but I also wanted her out. I was like, I want it to stop, but I don't want to push anymore. And I had to really dig deep down to figure out how to push it out. I felt like I was going to rip in half. I did not like it. And then she was out. I was like, thank God she's out. And I was done. She was born at 11:59 p.m. in 17 seconds. So she was born on the 11th. I started my labor at 7 a.m. She was born at 11:59 p.m. So a whole day of labor. Well, not a whole day, not 24 hours, but from 7 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. And I could not move after that. I was just exhausted and done. And they put that little sweet being on my chest. And then she's laying on me. And I have no energy, but I'm just staring at her and love her. And she's so sweet. She's so bloody, but she's so sweet. I'm just looking at her and just enjoying her little body on my belly. And then I'm pretty sure they told me to push or to try to get the placenta out. I did zero. I didn't do anything. I just laid there, I was like, I can't. Legs splayed apart. I just looked at that baby. And they somehow pushed on my stomach, which hurt. They got that placenta out somehow. But definitely heard stories afterwards about how I did not help. I didn't help at all. I don't know. I was done. I just had a baby. I don't know what you want from me. And then she was there. And then there were some moments where I got to just hold her for a while. First, I just got to hold her. And then they wanted to kind of check and see how did my vagina look down there now. And then they were looking, I had scoot up to the side of the bed, my butt, the side of the bed. And they were looking at me, touching a little bit. I was like, ow, that hurts. Obviously, very tender. And they're like, you tore. And we're trying to decide, is it a 2nd-degree tear or is it a 3rd-degree tear? We don't really know, because if it's a 2nd-degree tear, as midwives, we are trained to fix that. But if it's a 3rd-degree tear, you need a little bit more, and we're not able to fix it. Then we'd have to transfer you to the hospital. I was like, I don't know. It hurts. And I just laid there like, I don't know. What do you want from me? So then the midwives, they go off, and they're kind of talking back and forth to each other. What kind of tear is this? I don't know what we should do. They step out of the room to consult whoever they consult. I don't know. And they come back in, and they're like, yeah, we're going to transfer you to the hospital to make sure that it gets fixed correctly, because, with your vagina, you want it fixed correctly. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm getting transferred to the hospital. I don't have to walk, do I? They're like, oh, no, you don't have to walk. We're going to get you right onto a bed, and I actually had to take an ambulance over there. my mom wasn't, or somebody who had a car wasn't able to drive me. And it was literally across the parking lot. But it's birth center rules. They're not allowed to do that. So I'm going to tell just a little bit more of this story because it's still part of the like traumatic birth story. And then we're going to end. I'm just realizing I've been talking for 35 minutes. Okay, so the ambulance people come over. They have the little rolly beds, and they put me on that. My baby, she had to stay at the birth center because she was not allowed to be released until she was at least 4 hours old, because they had to run another test on her. They had to see what kind of stuff she needed. I don't know. So she had to stay with my mom. And I asked my doula if she would be willing to come over with me to be with me while they're sewing me up. And my mom can stay with the baby, and then my mom can bring the baby over because my mom had the car seat in her car for when we were going to be going home. So I get on that stretcher, and they take me to the ambulance, and it was snowy and cold. And I was like, woo, it's cold out here. And then I was like kind of chipper, talking to the paramedics, I guess. That's who they were. We were going through the parking lot. I'm like, this is so funny that you have to take me across the parking lot. St. Joseph's right there. But here we are. How's your day going? I'm telling them, like, yeah, no, my day, I've been pretty good. I mean, I just had a baby. I'm good now. It was painful, but I'm good now. I think the hormones did some kind of pick-me-uppy after she was out. So we make it over to the hospital. They take me into a room somewhere, and a doctor comes to look at my vagina to assess the situation in the tear and what's going on there, and tells me that they're going to need to fix it. So they're going to have to give me a shot to numb it because they're going to sew it up. I was like, okay. And at that point, I was like, I think I have to pee. And I literally had not peed since probably 8 p.m. That's my alarm that I'm supposed to go get my children, so I gotta finish this up real quick. I hadn't peed in a while. I was like, I haven't peed in a while. Does that matter? I asked them. Like how long a while? Like it's like a while. I turned to my doula. It's like, how long ago was it? It's like, it's been several, 4, 5, 6 hours. Like, so it's been a long time. Does that matter? What I asked them. Like, you probably should pee. It's like, okay. Like, is there a way that I can pee without walking over to the toilet? That's going to be very hard. And they bring me a little bedpan, and I am laying down, and then I just pee, which is the weirdest sensation ever. You're laying down and they just pee. Like, there we go, I peed. But very glad I didn't have to walk over to the toilet. So I pee, and then they're going to give me the shot. And I ask my doula if she'll hold my hand. And I'm holding her hand, and I'm looking at her, and I'm taking deep breaths, squeezing her hand, and then they inject. They give me the shot. It hurts. It's very painful. And then it all goes numb. I'm like, thank God. It's like, after a baby, I'll take all the drugs I can have. I just didn't want any while I was giving birth with the baby. But give me them all now. And then they sew it up. And then they take me to a room to recover. It's very sore. And I was sore for a while. It was very hard to actually sit down for a while. And then a little bit later, my baby and my mama came over. And I got to be reunited with my sweet little girl. And then we were there for, I kind of slept. My mom definitely slept. She took some good naps. And we left on the 12th later that day at like 5 p.m.-ish. That is my first birth story. That's the pregnancy and the birth, the whole thing. Yeah. So, hope that was, I don't know, fun to listen to. I don't know, what it helped you, freaked you out. I don't know. If it freaked you out, really touching to those parts of you that are like, oh God, what if it's painful like that? My birth experience did feel a little traumatic to me, that one. And I did afterwards, before my second, get EMDR to help process that. And my second birth was very different. So there's that. Okay. Next time I'm going to talk about some of those really early days postpartum, newborn baby, what my experience was like during those days. I hope this was helpful for you. And if it touched anything and you feel like you need support, reach out to another mama friend. Or if you have a therapist, reach out to your therapist. And thank you for listening. And I will chat with you next time. So as we end today, Mama, may you know that you are part of a community. You are creating a better world for yourself and for our children. And I invite you right now, Mama, just to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath in and out. One more time, in and out. Know that as you breathe in and out, you are not alone. We all breathe the same air, and we are connected. And here's the credits. The Raising Emotionally Intelligent Humans podcast was produced and created by me, Heidi Lindeman. New at podcasting, new at hosting, new at producing, doing it all and figuring it out as I go along. So thank you for joining me. And if you enjoyed this episode, please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment. That's what helps podcasts grow, reach more people, so that we can really create the community that we are wanting for our children and for ourselves. Let's keep creating emotional intelligence in this world, doing it one moment at a time, one step at a time, one feeling at a time. Mama, we've got this together.